Hello, hello, hello. Day 8. Um, Yesterday we were looking at refactoring code to sort of remove repetition, the idea of dry code. Um, so that was lesson 60. Let's go on to step 61. Instead of assigning the inner text and onclick properties to specific strings and functions, the update function will use data from location that is passed into it. First, that data needs to be passed. So now inside the goTown function, call the update function. Here is an example of calling a function named my function. So this is where I guess, yeah, those brackets come in, is when you're actually calling it. So before, I guess here in our go-to, we're not calling it, we're assigning it. So we can do so just by its name. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. So within goTown, we are to call updates. Now we know that update takes a location. I don't think, I think that we need to be able to provide that. I think we need to be able to provide that. So let's see. Okay. That's interesting. All right, let's see where we go from here. Because I would have thought we know our update function takes a location. So why wouldn't we include that there? I guess we haven't defined it because how do we populate it? Unless we are to then say goTown will take, will goTown then take a parameter as well, and then we'd be able to say, right, when you call goTown, you take, what is goTown doing? goTown would want to initiate these. So as it is here, we're in the town. So goTown would want to initialize, or yeah, change the buttons to this functionality and the text to that. And so I'm trying to sort of, I'm trying to think and figure out where it's going, and that will either be confirmed or corrected in the next step. Um, and I think doing so allows for us to really engage with what we're learning, and as we try to sort of um, figure it out on our own, I feel like we are creating, um, we're creating anchor points for the information that we then gather to hook onto. Because maybe I won't remember if I just read the answer, but I will remember sort of struggling to figure it out, and then seeing what the answer is or what the answer comes out to be. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's why it's taking a bit longer to sort of get my head around, code that's already passed. And I think that's one thing is in learning, try not to, or at least I see this from like all the learning gurus on the internet, and I've watched a lot of sort of how to learn type videos, and there seems to be a trend of the more you actively engage with what you're learning, the more um, you're able to learn. So even this idea of like spaced repetition, an active recall, asking yourself questions as you are studying ends up being, or at least by the research, and I say by the research, by what I've seen, um, it suggests the act of trying to sort of figure it out and the effort um, that we put into trying to figure out some of these things ends up being the things that allow for the things we learn to stick. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here. Is trying to figure out if I can understand why within the go town function I am calling update, but I'm not passing it a location. And I think that in the next line we are going to have to pass a location to, unless maybe the go town function, because where does the go town function get called? There's the other thing as well, is you'll be able to then check where things are called. So yeah, maybe the go town function will just call update, where update is location 1, as it were. Maybe that's what we'll do. Like where, yeah, so go town might be location is this one, is town square. And then when I get town square, I can then say, sorry, yeah. So maybe location 1, not location 1, but if I say go town, so when if the function go town is called, then it calls the update function with a location uh town square or whatever. Yeah, town square. And when I get town square, then button 1 in the text is, I'm gonna have to refactor this as well, because then when the location is, okay, so locations is a array. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'll say function update location, the parameter then becomes, well, then suggests if it's town square. So I'm trying to figure out how town square will tie into um, the location, because town square is effectively locations dot one, as well as the dot zero. It's the first element of the array is town square. And so if whatever it is that comes in here that tells me which element of the array it wants to use, so there might be location dot zero, might be the syntax. I'm sure we'll get there, but let's say the syntax is array name dot zero, then location dot zero will then set button 1 dot inner text to location dot zero dot button text dot zero, which would be this one, and then button text dot 2 will be this one. So we'd work our way through through the object. I think it's going to be something along those lines, but let's see. We need to pass the argument into the update call, including them in the function. In the parentheses, my functional argument is that pass your locations array into the update call. This is where it's going to get interesting, because I don't think it's just that. It was just that. So passing the whole array into it. Okay, so passing the whole array into it, and then we are going to refactor our update code to then use the whole array. So button 1 in the text will be locations dot 0, or locations into bracket 0, I think it is, dot town square dot, yeah, okay, cool, let's see. Now the array, look at that. I can't speak. It's late as well. Like this turn up was another late one. The locations array contains two locations, the town square and the store. Now you're passing the entire array into the update function. But we want to pass only the first element of the locations array by adding that. So it's a square bracket 0 at the end of the variable, and that's the brackets notation. So we use a bracket notation to navigate through the array. I'm just going to make a note of that because that's important. Alright, so let's pass in locations 0. So this is what I was saying, we're now passing in the first one into update. So location 0 will be this one. I still think we're going to have to come and then refactor that. Well, let's see. Again, I love how this is like, it's taking you through literally step by step. Like literally, it's step by step. Alright. Now your update function needs to use the argument you pass into it. Inside the update function, change the value of the button 1, the inner text assignment to be location button text. The way you use bracket notation to get, that way you use bracket notation to get the button text property of the location object passed into that function. This is what I was saying. So even though I haven't figured it out yet, this is what I was saying. So we're passing in the location, right? And we are then going to, okay, so we've got locations here as the name of the array, but we are passing in a location, which is an element, which makes sense. But I just think that's specific sort of naming that's worth noting. So we're changing the value of inner text 1 to be wherever the location is that's passed through. So location. Right, so we're passing through a location. We're not passing through the entire thing, we're passing through a location. So we've then said, okay, let's pass in the example that we did, location 0. So now we've got all of location 0 available to us as location. And then we're then using the button text because, so I would have thought we'd use dot notation here, admittedly, because we are now going into an object within the array, but maybe not. So we are then saying location 0's button 1 in a text is okay, so I've put this in quotation marks as though this is a string, but this is not a string. This is a reference to a string. I feel like this should be 0. This is how I think it should be. But I think that would fail me. This step. Yeah, would have. Because button text isn't just a single thing. Button text is itself an array. So I feel like we need to use bracket notation to get into the element of the button text array that we actually want to use. C. Mm. Okay. Alright, so things are getting interesting now. First element. I feel like it's something to do with how referencing it as a. Wait. So I am. What am I saying? I'm saying within the array. That can't be right. That cannot be right. So I am actually saying location, button text. I'm not drilling into it. I'm actually saying this is the thing. Location, square brackets, button text is this thing. Okay, that was good. Same thing. Arrays start from 0. I apologize, I'm having to check my phone quite a few times today. Alright, so now we're doing the same thing, but we're going through button functions. So we're then going to say and because I am so lazy, I'm actually going to do this for there. So location, button functions. Two. what I'm most excited about is the fact that I was right. I said we would refactor the code, and we are. Okay. So now we're using the dot notation. Did we only use bracket notation because they are fraction? Oh, so we may have used bracket notation because they are arrays. But we use dot notation if it's not. Interesting. Yeah. So maybe. Let's check that theory. Again, our favorite ones are MDN and W3 schools. But you also find things like this, which are like useful little arguments. So, not arguments, articles is what I was trying to say. So dot notation is the most commonly used for accessing object properties. In dot notation, accessing object property, as well as find objects followed by a period and the period name. So we've got an object here, object dot property name. Bracket notation. It's an alternative way of accessing object properties. And in that notation, you access an object property by specifying the object followed by square brackets. And okay, that's very interesting. They are one and the same. But each has its pros and each has its cons, and we'll be able to figure that out later. What I am going to do, however, is make a copy of this and add it to my notes because it's useful. Sorry. That's quite cool. So, this is how you learn, folks. This is how I'm learning. Alright, cool. So let's go. Oh my god. Okay, so we went to the store. We clicked go store, and they went to location 1. Location 1 is this. Okay, and we know that go to town square. Let's go town square. Yeah, that's go town. And we know that go town does that. So, and there you have it. There it is. think I can be a bit lazy here and allow for what I was saying last time, which is the sort of, I think it's called linting, which is where it formats your code. One, according to the language, but then two, also according to sort of certain predefined rule sets that it follows. And so I'm going to be a bit lazy here, and instead of like actually on my own indenting the curly brackets, I think I can leave it as such, but then when I go to the next challenge, they will be indented for me, and that's a linting at work, I believe. Anyway, step 71, I'm going to save for tomorrow, because it's late and I got gym in the morning. So, thank you for watching, whenever you do, and keep turning up. I'm not going to leave the studio before I end the stream.